everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call to order the Nevada Commission for the Reconstruction of the V&T Railway. It is 9:20 a.m., Wednesday, July 27th, 2022, and we are here at the Carson City Community Center, Robert Bob Kroll Boardroom. Allison, could I get a roll call, please?
Clay Mitchell,
Present.
David Peterson,
Present.
Stephanie Hicks, Jim Wells, Denny Dotson, not present.
Great, we have a quorum. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 3, Pledge of the Allegiance. If everybody could please stand.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. We'll go ahead and move on to public comment. At this time, the public is invited to comment on and discuss any topic that is relevant to or within the authority of this public body. I am not seeing any public comment in the room, so we'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 5 for possible action, approval of the minutes of the June 22nd, 2022 meeting. Allison, go ahead.
Yep, Allison Bolton for the record. I have a few edits to the meeting minutes. Page 4, before and after number 6 is duplicated language. Page 5, item 8, it should be fiscal 21/22, not 22/22. Page 10, we have a motion and a second, not in second. Page 11, paragraph 2, first line should be trained services, not trained. Page 11, under Jennifer, I'll make the change. There should be a period at the end of that sentence. Page 13, line 15 should be 53016, not 5316. Page 14, line 17 should be 56500, not 5650. Page 22, line 16 should be Raquel, not Rachel. Page 38, line 9 should be sheesh, not she's. Those are all the edits that I have at this time.
Thank you, Allison. Do any of my peers have any edits or changes they would like to see? Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and accept a motion on the minutes.
This is Clay. I'll move to approve the minutes with the noted corrections.
Thank you for that motion, Clay. May I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Thank you, Allison, for those changes. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 6 for possible action, discussion and possible action regarding approval of the V&T Statement of Accounts Payable, checks paid June 1st through July 1st, 2022. Jim, if you're okay, do you want to, anything you want to add on that?
I'll just add that the difference between the budget report that's in the next item and the check runs for the July or the month of June is that the budget report includes the July checks that were paid that were related to FY22. That's why there's a difference. The only real difference between the check run and the and what you see on the expense side is the credits for the railroad and an avoided check to AT&T that ended up having to be reissued.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim on the accounts payable? I'd accept a motion then. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I move to approve the payable checks paid June 1st through July 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Clay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. We'll go ahead and move on to agenda item 7 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding approval of the adjusted V&T fiscal 21-22 budget report, period ending June 30, 2022. So on this one, we've got adjusted revenue totaling $1,478,855.28 and expenses totaling $1,115,559.44. Jim, anything you want to add? Kind of trying to wrap 22?
Yeah, so the FY22, there were a couple of late transactions that are going to post to FY22. One is the last license plate revenue for the fiscal year, and the other is the payment to Story County for their services for the fourth quarter. And so those will post after this. And so with those two adjustments, the final revised budget will be the net revenues over expenses will be $357,921 instead of the $363,295 that you saw in the report that's in the packet. I will say, if you take out the one-time revenues for the sale of property and the Carson City revenue that we get, those two total about $308,000, and that leaves us with an operating surplus really of about $50,000. So actually not bad considering where we thought we would be going through the year. The payment of the $321,000 that's in the next item, I think, is going to significantly reduce the amount that we have in the check in our checking account. So as of June 30th, our checking account balance was just $100 less than $800,000. So that's going to leave us with less than $500,000 in cash going forward. And given our cyclical revenues, we have to remember we need to pay bills when we're not necessarily taking in any money. So having that balance is necessary.
Yeah, I totally agree, Jim. Thank you for that update as far as the expenditures. Any questions? Okay, somebody would like to go ahead and make a motion? That would be super.
Yeah, this is Clay. I move to approve the adjusted V&T fiscal year 21-22 budget report for the period ending June 30th, 2022.
Thank you, Clay, for that motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion, anybody opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Great. All right, let's go ahead and move on to agenda item 8. Consideration and possible approval of a payment to Story County in the amount of $321,041.33. Jim, do you want to take this up initially? Just give a little bit of background from last month.
Yeah, so this is a follow-up to the agenda item that we had last month, where Jennifer McCain from Story County kind of went through what she had found as the commission transitioned its banks and accounting to Story County. And it ended up being that Story County was writing checks out of their bank account for a period of time up until June 30th of 2019. And in 2020, the commission paid the Story County for those checks that they had written in FY19. There were some problems with the transition. They ended up getting some checks that had wrong account numbers and did not clear. So Story County had to write checks again for the commission for the first 6 weeks or so of FY20. And then no one has ever paid, or the commission has never paid Story County for those checks that they wrote on the commission's behalf. We did find the bank statements, and we did see that there were the revenue collections going into the Wells Fargo account that's associated with the commission. So we did get the revenues, we just did not pay the bills. So this is $321,041.33 will clear out the amount that we owe to Story County for bills that they paid on the commission's behalf.
Thank you, Jim, for that explanation. And for the record, this ties back to our audit from fiscal 21, right?
There's a slight difference. I forget. There was a couple, like $1,000 difference, but yeah, this will clear out that accounts payable item. It does not clear out the. Speaking of the audit, there was the second piece that was the $250,000 that dealt with the freight depot. That is still an outstanding issue that needs to be resolved between the commission and Story County.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions from the commission? Seeing none, I'd be happy to entertain a motion. Go ahead, Jim.
This is Jim. I would move that the commission approve payment of $321,041.33 to Story County for invoices paid on the commission's behalf from July 1st, 2019 to August 19th, 2019.
Thank you, Jim, for that motion. Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you, Stephanie. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll move on to agenda item number 9 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding an agreement for legal services between the V&T Commission and the Carson City District Attorney's Office for a not to exceed amount of $20,000 per year effective August 1st, 2022. I'll go ahead and let you start on this one, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you. This is also a follow-up to our discussion item of last month for an agreement for legal services between our commission and the Carson City District Attorney's Office. Mihaela Niegos is here. If you have any questions specifically regarding the contract, she is the Deputy District Attorney that would be assigned to the commission, and we can answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Stephanie. Any questions from the commission, either for Stephanie or Mihaela? Okay, great. Seeing none, I'd love to have a motion on this item. Go ahead, Jim. You guys are rushing today.
This is Jim. I'd move to approve the agreement for legal services between the commission and the Carson City District Attorney's Office for an amount not to exceed $20,000 per year effective August 1st, 2022.
Thank you, Jim, for that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Clay. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, everybody. Welcome aboard, Mihaela. They're a nice group of people, even though they seem shy. They're not talking a lot. They do talk a lot sometimes. Awesome. As we just saw with our minutes. Okay, so I don't see Austin on yet. So I'd like to go ahead and move to 11. We'll come back to 10. Is that all right with everyone? And hopefully we can get Austin on the WebEx. So, okay. So with that, we'll get a little bit out of order here. We'll skip forward to number 11 for possible action. Discussion and possible action regarding request for proposal for the Polar Express North Pole construction and maintenance. So in your packet, you have a draft of a proposed RFP to construct and maintain the Polar Express, the North Pole Village for the Polar Express. Does anyone have any questions? I know it looks like it's a little bit of a tight timeline, but obviously we need to get this concluded, I think, with the September commission meeting, so we can get construction going probably immediately thereafter. But any questions, any edits to the document? And thank you, Leah and David, for putting that together.
David, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Yes.
Yeah, this is a couple of typos, page 8, under item paragraph 17, reference to Exhibit A. There is no Exhibit A, but I was able to find. And I'm sure these are just typos. And then also on the attachments, I assume you're going to go ahead and put a sample contract in with the document when you do send it out. And that's all.
Yes, Ken. I missed the first question or the first concern you had in page 8 on number 17. Did you
17,
say
there's reference to Exhibit A, and I'm not seeing any other reference or note that Exhibit A was included. I think that is a typo.
Gotcha.
That's all.
Need to remove that? So, Ken, are you suggesting we should just remove that? No? Oh, okay.
Basically,
Jim's right. We need to add Exhibit A back. Okay.
It's the amount of assurance that's required, so I think you
Yeah.
probably need to tell the prospective responders how much they're
Okay.
going to have to require for insurance.
So we will add an Exhibit A, and then we'll reference that under number 22 attachments.
10-4.
Okay, yeah, and then you're right. In the overall RFP, when it goes out, Ken, all of those documents would be put on the website, right? So everybody can access everything. This was sort of just the RFP document itself, but all of those other documents, they do exist, and they would be put onto the
Yep.
website.
I just happened to look up the insurance because I wanted to see what the requirement was and wasn't able to find Exhibit A. That's why I flagged that spot.
Gotcha. No, thank you, Ken. I appreciate it. Thank you
Thank you.
for looking that over. Any other questions, edits from the commission? All right. Allison, you're okay with everything? Timetable? Okay. So I think we need a motion on this to get Allison moving forward. So if I could get a motion, obviously addressing the change, a couple changes there that Ken noted. Anybody?
Yeah, this is Jim. I would move that we release the RFP for construction and maintenance of the Polar Express North Pole to be with a tentative schedule of presentations and issuance of the contract at the September V&T Commission meeting with the inclusion of Exhibit A for the insurance requirements and adding that exhibit to the attachments.
Thank you for that motion, Jim. Perfect. I think that summed up everything nicely. Could I get a second? Go ahead, Stephanie.
I second.
Thank you, Stephanie. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, yeah, thank you. Good work on that, ladies. Appreciate it. We'll get this baby rolling. I don't see Austin yet.
He's having trouble getting in, trying to work around.
Okay. Are you comfortable if we go ahead and move into 12 then, for discussion only items? Okay, so let's do that while we get Austin on the WebEx. So we'll move forward with agenda item 12 for discussion only, monthly non-action items. We'll start with 12A, operations report, Allison Bolton.
It worked. First try. New computer, guys, new computer. Thank you, Allison Bolton, for the record. Operations update for today. We'll go through operations, assets, board relations, and marketing. Operations, really, we've kind of transitioned to all hands on deck for the Polar Express and getting ready for that. This last month, maintaining the general season trains, we had a special group come in, their acronym being TRASH. They were a fantastic group. They had lots of fun, and they just had rave reviews about the whole experience as a whole. Continued vendor coordination with Freedom Rail, just kind of getting the full swing of operations and of having both train and rail bikes running. Continued customer service with email and phone. We're currently looking into possibly doing some sort of call center type scenario. The way that we have the current phone system set up, with exception of when the train is actually running, is we return phone calls, whether it be 24 hours or 48 hours later, and our voicemail message reflects that. So, please give us 48 hours to return the call. A little bit of pushback on that sometimes from the customers, and so we are investigating what would the cost investment be to have a designated call center to pick up calls as they come in. Some days it's 6 calls, some days it's 50 calls, and we are going on sale rather soon here, as I'll talk about, for the Polar Express, where we're seeing 50 to 100 calls a day with questions. So looking at that to see if that is an option for us. And then we also have spent a lot of time this last month really looking at potentially a new ticketing system. We currently use Fair Harbor, and from an operation side, it does work fairly well. However, it does add added hours of time to both my team as well as Jim Wells in terms of the reports that it spits out and how it reconciles with our bank account. And it's very cumbersome. So while, from the customer side and from the operation side, it does work well for running a train, on the back end, it has its issues. We did identify another ticketing system, and you should have seen Leah and I with our whiteboard, and we had a pro-con of each system. Ultimately, where we landed was we wanted to give the opportunity to Fair Harbor to fix it. So we spent some time with them on the phone going through, hey, these are the issues we're having, what can be addressed. One thing that cannot be addressed is it actually extends a 6% ticketing fee to the customer that goes directly to Fair Harbor, which is really high. The response from them is, well, staff time is also very costly, and so we're taking that off of your time. And well, no, you're not. So that cannot be changed, which is why this other ticketing system is rather appealing, because it would cost less, and actually we may see a revenue side if we went with this other ticketing system. We just don't want to exchange one issue for a new issue, and so February 1 is where we slated the next call with the other ticketing system so that we can go through one more season of the Polar Express, see if Fair Harbor can address the issues. And if not, it would give us the opportunity to use a new ticketing system during the general season line before going into a major special event. So it kind of checks two boxes for us in that we're not doing a quick change right before our biggest thing, and give Fair Harbor to address it. So anticipate that at our next board retreat, where we're really going to dive into the two systems to determine what would be the best for us. Both systems do not require any sort of contracts. So it's kind of we're moving and that's it. Up next, and actually, big update, we hired under the Atypical team a director and stage manager. Her name is Nicole Larson. She's getting a quick trip to Mexico before she's all things the Polar Express. So she'll be at our next commission meeting so you can meet her in person. She's very excited to be on board, and we've already started our weekly Polar Express meetings. She just sent me the casting call in my inbox. She is just pedal to the metal and very excited. So with that, moving forward, we're really putting all things together to go on sale for the Polar Express. We are anticipating next week for our email subscribers. And then about a week later is when we would hit send on social media, our press release, general public. So we're giving it a week window for people that are on our mailing list. And we are, the team's working on putting up some marketing right now to incentivize people to join our mailing list right now so that they are on the distribution when we hit on sale for Polar. Some changes with Polar that you are going to see this year is for our coach car. So we have 3 cars for the Polar Express. For our coach car, we are doing, basically we're selling the bench. So what we're finding is that odd numbered groups, as much as we tell them, hey, you're going to have someone, a stranger sitting with you, buy the extra seat if you don't want them, they never do, and then it becomes an issue when we're boarding the train. And so we did, after the Polar Express camp, we talked to several other railways, asked them if they did this, and it works for them. And so we're gonna see how it goes, and basically you have to buy 2 tickets, whether you use that second seat or not. So we're just selling the bench as opposed to the ticket. The other big change is we're no longer gonna do an adult ticket or a child ticket. We're going to take the average of the 2 price points and come to the middle at 1 price point, and a seat is a seat, whether you're an adult or a child. So those are the 2 really big changes for the Polar Express that you're going to be seeing. David, I do see that Austin's on the line.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I was just going to ask
Great.
if we could pause
Yes.
and come back to you
100%.
just due to timing. So,
Yes.
Austin, are you able to hear us?
I can hear you, and I still have a little bit of time if you want to finish this item, and then I'll catch up. That's okay.
No, I think just out of respect for you, Austin, we're going to go ahead and move back to agenda item 10. So we'll pull out of the number 12A, and I'd like to go back to agenda item 10 for possible action, discussion of possible action regarding transportation services from the Virginia and Truckee Railroad Depot in Virginia City to C Street, Virginia City. So Allison, do you want to get started, and then, or do you want Austin to start? However you guys want.
I can give some
Okay.
context
Just
to
some context, okay.
to the line item. So we had a verbal agreement with the Virginia City Trolley to have them do our transportation from the depot in Virginia City up to C Street. Now, while it's not a long walk, it is uphill, and it can be quite strenuous for anyone that, say, is in a wheelchair or elderly. Also, the immediate direction is stairs, and so you kind of have to go around to get up to C Street. And so we've always offered that service. Historically, I found out, we actually added a $3.50 surcharge on all tickets to cover the cost of that trolley. Currently, the commission does not charge anything for any sort of transportation. Essentially, I think it was 3 or 4 weeks ago, it didn't show up. And it was much to our surprise. And so it was a little bit of a scramble to kind of figure out, okay, what do we do? And so with the help of Commissioner Mitchell, we kind of put our brain together of what could be a solution. For last weekend's train, we did have Amador come in to run the shuttle service because it was just too quick for us to get anything else in line. So Clay connected us with Austin, and I'm actually going to pass it off to them to kind of fill in the blanks of where we're going to go from here, with the idea that we're just looking for this operating season, and the commission would need to come up with a more permanent solution moving forward.
That's great. Clay, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll just add a comment quickly, and then let Austin say what he has to say. First of all, I just want to thank those who kind of scrambled when we were in a rough situation, including Tom and the train, and Allison and her crew, to try to make sure that our guests were taken care of, and it's a tough situation. You know, it's part of the challenge that we deal with living on the mountain. I just want to reiterate, I think, you know, as we go into discussion on this item, that this is a much larger discussion to be had. I don't think this is the right time for the larger discussion about a permanent solution, because I think there's some legwork to be done to really decide what are some good options or directions we want to go there. But the immediate need, as I see it, is to ensure that we have a seamless operation or a good guest experience through the rest of this operating season. And so Austin was able to pull together a few resources, and I think we have a way to fill that need for the rest of this season. So I'll turn it over to you, Austin, just to add a few comments if you'd like.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Mitchell. Austin Osborne, Story County Manager. Just to let you know, I do appreciate working with you all and want to be able to provide the services needed here in this case. So what we're happy to do with the county is just to provide a temporary service between now and, I understand, December 31st, or at another time earlier as determined between us. This is just a shuttle just to get folks to and from the railway train. This would not apply to the short line. Other businesses, nonprofits. This is not a H shape that goes through town with various stops. It is simply exactly like Commissioner Mitchell described, just for the purpose of the railway to get folks from the train up to C Street in Virginia City and then back, just as a temporary service. I agree with Commissioner Mitchell that we're happy to work with you on an ultimate long-term plan, as well as with the VCTC up here that might integrate into an actual type of a transit system here in town. But at this point, we're happy to help under these limited circumstances. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Austin and Clay. We really appreciate that you guys stepping up here to help us figure out how to get us through basically October, right, at this point. So thank you. I have a couple quick questions. Allison, how many more trains are we running to get us through, just roughly, get us through October?
I want to say 6 weekends, but I have it right here,
Okay.
I think.
And then while Allison's looking, Austin, how big is or Clay, either one of you, how big is the proposed shuttle? Is it an actual shuttle, or is it like one of the small buses? If you might just provide the.
Sure. So we have a couple different vehicles that we can use, and you know, that's something that I think we'll need to talk about because I think there's a difference between. I think that this service is one that will expand somewhat to the capacity that you offer. And so one of the things that I think is important is to determine the real need versus the convenience factor for people who might take advantage of it but don't really need it. We have a 12-passenger van that's in the mix. The advantage to using that is obviously it's quicker and more nimble, does not require a passenger endorsement. It's a regular Class C, whatever vehicle, more flexibility on who can drive it for us. And then I believe we also have access to a 26-passenger shuttle which certainly provides a greater capacity, but has some limitations as well as far as who can drive it, so on and so forth. But Austin, you're free to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe both of those are in the mix and available.
So I can address two of those things. So the first was how many more weekends? It is 7. I was close. 7 more weekends. The last weekend that we run is October 22nd and 23rd. So select weekends between now and the end of October. The second was on the capacities and the needs. So this last weekend, we had a 14-passenger van, and each day, Saturday and Sunday, it did about 3 trips. Now, I don't know if the van was completely full for all 3 trips, but it went about up and down around 3 each day.
That's very helpful,
And
yeah.
Austin Osborne, I'm happy to answer questions as well if you want me to continue a little bit on
Please do, Austin.
capacity.
Please do, yeah, that would be great, Austin, thank you.
Austin Osborne, Story County Manager. So thank you, Commissioner Mitchell, for explaining the size of the transit shuttle. So there's some limitations we have with staff. I believe we have one person that has a CDLP endorsement for the shuttle that is larger, that requires that P endorsement. The VCTC is working right now to try to move staff around a little bit, scheduling wise, to be able to provide the capacity needed to run that shuttle on all of the times necessary for the railway. Worst case scenario, if there was a day or two or whatever where that person is not available, then another person will have to drive, and they would have to use the 12-passenger van that does not require a P endorsement. So far, we believe we'll be able to have the shuttle running, if not most of the time. And so we'll keep you updated on that.
Thank you, Austin, that's great. And then I just have one question. Are both of those vehicles, are they ADA accessible, or in other words, you could load somebody's wheelchair in there? Are we covering that in one or the other, or if anybody knows? I mean,
Sure. So there's been some discussion of ADA compliance, and that's actually part of why the shuttle is not up and running on a regular basis, because that's a modification that we'll need to make to it. One of the unique characteristics of someone who participates in a train ride is that the train itself is not necessarily ADA compliant in the traditional sense, which means that the shuttle, for the most part, is to accommodate someone who has limited mobility, not necessarily someone who would be required to stay in a wheelchair to be transported. And so my understanding is the typical way that works is someone who has the use of a wheelchair would have to get out of the wheelchair to get onto the train. The wheelchair is stowed. In a case like this, then that wheelchair would be transferred to the vehicle, and they would be assisted onto the vehicle, brought up to C Street, and then they would have the use of their wheelchair again.
that's perfect. Okay. No, thank you for that. All right, I think I asked enough questions. Any questions, Jim or Stephanie? Yeah, go ahead, Stephanie, please.
I'm just assuming, because it doesn't list any costs, so there's no cost to us for this service that Story County is providing?
Yeah, I'll let Austin confirm that, but our understanding is that, the real cost to the county is de minimis, and so we're happy to provide it just to make sure that we have continuity through the rest of the season.
Excellent. It's very generous.
Oh, yeah, super nice. Thank you. Great.
We also kind of went back and forth on, we're happy to, if as much as is needed, to put some sort of an agreement in place to kind of outline what specifically is needed. We didn't feel that necessarily we needed to go the full contract type route, just because of the fact that there was not an exchange of value from that perspective. But I'm in favor of some sort of a memorandum, just to make sure that there's clarity on what's being provided and what the expectation is. But the thought is maybe that's something we hammer out and ratify, so that we can get this in place and going, and then bring it back to the commission, just to kind of memorialize this is what we're doing.
I think that's a fair idea because, yeah, obviously we don't meet for another month and we have trains running. So are you all comfortable with that? We'll at least provide the services starting this weekend we'll get an MOU or an MOA in place, bring that back at the September or August meeting, excuse me. Okay. What do you need from us, Allison, then? Do we just need a motion to, do we need anything today? Or?
I don't know that we need anything. I think we would ratify at the next meeting, right?
Okay. Great. Is everybody comfortable with that, or?
Or the flip side is we could go ahead and approve it and then just approve you to negotiate with Story County for the details of the memorandum of understanding, and then you can bring it back almost as an information item. I'm kind of, there's no dollar amount changing hands, so there's no need for a real contract for this. So it's
Right.
really just laying out,
What is
so I don't
going
know
to be
that we
done?
need to bring it back as an action item. We could just have you and
Sure.
Story County.
I'm fine with that.
So with that, I would move to allow the president to enter into a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement with Story County to provide transportation services from the depot in Virginia City to C Street.
Thank you for that motion, Jim. I think Clay, before we do a second, just wants to ask Austin something.
We probably should second it, and then we can open it back up for
Okay.
discussion. So I'll second that motion.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Clay.
Austin, I just wanted to get your take on if that's a path forward that works for the county.
Austin Osborne, Story County Manager. I'd be happy to have that discussion with you when you're ready.
Okay.
All right, then. Thank you for that motion, Jim. We have a second from Clay. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Great, motion carries unanimously. All right, well, I think this is a great solution for our visitors. I want to double thank Austin and Clay for presenting this as I think a great solution, not only I think for this year, but to look at a long-term solution as well. So I like it very much.
Yes, certainly transportation is on our radar as something we need to improve, and this is maybe just one more piece of that puzzle.
Yeah.
We have programs in place to help with transportation for our seniors. We have been looking at transportation on the tourism side, and there's a broader discussion to be had, and I think buying ourselves some time to then figure out how the commission's activities interact with that makes good sense.
No, great. Thank you, everybody. All right, we'll jump back into 12A, which is the operations report. So Allison, if you want to resume on.
Thank you. Allison Bolton. So we were in our operations bucket, just a few more updates that I have here. We have finalized a private group that will be coming October 1st. They'll be taking the train in the evening. So the train will come back from Virginia City. We'll load it up with our private group. It's actually a corporate event. They're going to be going up to the Gold Hill Depot, where they'll be having a dinner at the depot and then heading back down to Carson City. They are working with Gold Dust West, I believe, on room nights, as well as Amador on a shuttle to our depot. It's kind of a new footprint that we are excited to try and offer as a new offering moving forward. And the agreement that we actually worked out with them, because it is taking Leah and mine's time to actually coordinate and plan their event, we did an extended fee to them on top of the base rate of renting the train, just to cover our time and our efforts. So very excited about that. At our last meeting, they were on the fence and we're moving forward. And then the last thing I wanted to kind of touch base here was Rail Events is sending out a staff to assist us in terms of making sure that we have all things in line for our production and our sound. So actually going to help us look at the train, look at the system, and then we also have a sound vendor that we're meeting with next week to kind of install some permanent systems both in the depot and then looking at, we'll be up at Tom's yard at his train to ensure that everything that we have links up. For the most part, our trains are selling out on the weekend. So we have run select weekends. We're not running every weekend, but here's just kind of a layout of where we're at. And so this is inclusive of last weekend's run, and we are running this weekend as well. I don't believe we're at sell out for this weekend, but we're fairly close. We're up there. So you can see the revenue here on the left side, and as well as the correlation with the season riders. Per request, I learned something new, which was how to plot zip codes. So we exported the zip codes from our ticketing system of those who actually purchased. And so the scale here is kind of from like a light orange into a deep red based on the number of bookings from that county. So it's based on county. So you can see there, and I know it's kind of hard to see. I did all sorts of different colors, and this was kind of the best one. Reno was the highest that came through, but we had Virginia, Hawaii, Texas, all over the United States. But clearly you can see here Nevada and California being the most heavily booked. We have reached out to Freedom Rail for their numbers. We have yet to receive it from them. So we've sent in that request twice now, and so we'll continue to ask them for their numbers pursuant of their contract. In terms of assets, we actually secured a quote to digitize everything. So Ken had all of the engineering files transported to our depot. So it's about, I think, 4 large filing cabinets full of files in addition to the operations files that were in the depot itself. And we got a bid from a contractor to do that, that we're tentatively moving forward on. And then we're really just kind of getting ready for Polar, hoping to, so last year we had the dumpster luckily come out from Carson City to kind of dump everything from our property, but we do have a lot down at the Blue Hangar that needs to be kind of trashed. So that's kind of the next thing on the list, is going there and just cleaning that out and getting things a little bit more organized. So yeah.
Would it be possible,
Yep.
Stephanie, to get a, what is it that we had, a dumpster or a truck or what?
We had a dumpster that they
Okay.
dropped for about 2 days
Oh.
that we filled up completely. Yeah.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
I'll
Do-
check.
Okay.
Okay.
Do
Get
we
back to
have as much, if not more?
If not more.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes. Like the big thing that fits the length of the semi-tractor? Like those big, huge ones, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. That would be super, if you can, Stephanie, inquire, that'd be nice. Yeah, no pressure. I mean, but failure is not an option, I think we like to say on this commission, so thank you.
Oh my goodness. Moving forward. One of the things that Lee and I were kind of chatting through, we started really, if you look at it, June, late May, early June of last year. And so, things that we're doing now for Polar, we weren't doing until August, September. So we're feeling really confident in this season and where we're moving forward. I did want to mention, and that actually brings something up, and I'll go back to operations. So in terms of the 4th car for the Polar Express, we did all the math in terms of what our fees would be to Tom for the additional car, because he wanted $2,000 per day for the additional 4th car. And then I added the royalties that we would need to pay, and then tentative costs on staff. And really, we were only looking at a net revenue of around $50,000 to add that 4th car. At the end of the day, the amount that the cookies we'd need to order, the hot chocolate we'd need to order, the staffing that we would need to staff it just didn't seem like a cost benefit to us. And so we've set, Leah and I, a goal of actually hitting our sponsorships to $50,000 to compensate for that. And since we are a nonprofit, our sponsorships are not liable to any sort of royalty fee. So that's kind of the strategy that we're going to go with this year. For the time being, we will not be moving forward with the 4th car.
Any questions about that from the commission as far as the direction on Polar?
Nope.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for that update.
Great. With board relations, just kind of in contract negotiations now on a few different contracts. I'm working with Story County on credit card issues, accounts payable, kind of the same things. Working with our Roy Street to get payments through, and then putting together a planning timeline for all contract terms. Basically, we've got this Word document that we're formulating of like, January, you do this, February, you do this, and then that then translates to our internal planning system that we have internally, but say that system wasn't there, there is an actual document that could be passed on. In terms of marketing, we've hired an internal marketing manager. Her name is Leanne. She may be here at our next meeting, but really today it's just kind of an update on things that we're moving forward, because in all honesty, our marketing could be a little bit better, hence why we're bringing in Leanne to kind of just help put the pieces together. We had a great call yesterday or the day before with our media buyer, laying out the fiscal year plan, and then Leanne is working to put kind of what we've allocated towards marketing for the fiscal and saying, okay, this is towards our media buy and here's where we're spending everything else. So we're very excited about that. And then we're also designing a rack card. We're still kind of in the design process right now, but essentially what it's going to be, it's actually a brochure as well as a rack card. So the brochure is going to be something that would be evergreen with things that don't really change year to year. And then we have a separate rack card with the season schedule. So we're looking, to really kind of hit the ground running on that next year. We were hoping to get it in line for this year, and it just didn't quite happen. So we'll have that brochure going into Polar, and then next year we'll have that little rack card insert that then can change year over year. Our social, ticking up, not significantly up, but in both Instagram and Facebook, we are seeing an increase in our followers and our likes, which is what you would like to see. And then our most popular post in the last month was the announcement of the rail bikes. Quick update on our media buy. So the plan did end at the end of June. And so, like I said, we just had the call with her to kind of pick up where we left off. We will be running what's kind of considered an always on, so paid search online, et cetera. We'll be running our general line marketing through the end of October. And so here's just a recap of where we landed at the end of, should say June report. So in terms of overall impressions, just over 1 million impressions. We have 2 posters or billboards that are they get moved about in Reno. And actually, even though our plan ended, our posters are still up because they just don't have the inventory right now to replace them. So the hope is that we won't really have a lapse and they're just gonna pick it right back up. We ran on TV, and so here's just kind of a recap of both May and June, with May having about 1.4 impressions and June running at around 2.1 impressions. Our TV is 5-second and 10-second ads, just due to the political window and the cost of buying television right now. I mean, for example, if you were looking to buy closer to November, you're looking, some spots are going for $35,000. It is insane. So for us, we don't necessarily need 30 seconds or a minute to get our message across. And so we're kind of tapered between Jeopardy, weekend news, AM, midday with kind of that quick, trains are running, visit us at vtrailway.com. And it's really a quick thing. And I think it's on the next one, but it is working, I will say that, and we'll see that based on our website. But here we do have search and display. This is going to be the thing that's kind of the always on. So even though we don't plan to need to market Polar, we'll still have presence. If someone were to search, say, Virginia City train, we would still come up. So here you can see, overall impressions. And what's significant here is that over 30% actually clicked. So it's very high, relatively speaking. And then you can see here our top keywords for our search. Quick website updates. I did send a question over to our media buyer because I was actually surprised to see that the direct channel was our top channel. Based on the previous slide, I was anticipating the referral to be a little bit higher. So I'm still waiting on that answer. Oh, she did reply. What did she say? She said that it could be the way that our Google Analytics is set up, because traffic-wise, it's coming in as direct, even going back months. So she thinks it's something in our Google Analytics that possibly isn't picking up the referrals. So we will investigate that more with Chad Antos, who runs our website, and who set up the Google Analytics account. Because like I said, based on the previous slide of that high click-through rate, that referral should be higher. It's interesting to see that this is an increase in users and revenue, because if you remember last month, it showed a decrease because it was the month after going on sale, but this is comparing it to the previous 30 days. So there was a tick up in the users and the revenue from the previous 30 days. And then just as I had anticipated, the not set city is going to continually to be higher as people are starting to block cookies and keep their information private, use a private browser, etc. And then Reno being the number 2 and followed by the following 8. Questions?
Any questions for Allison or Leah? Great report. I like seeing the numbers. I know we went through something too with Google for our website because they changed the algorithms and changed how what's, like you said, private now, what's public. So, yeah, if Chad could maybe take a look at the code that we have on our website to pick up some of this information. I think it's important, that we are able to get as much data as we can without seeing not set or unknown or unavailable or whatever. So, great job. It's a lot going on. So, awesome. Okay. And no questions. Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies. Let's go ahead. 12B. I don't see Tom on for a train operations report update. So I think we'll go ahead and move to 12C, attorney's report. Mike, you want to? Yeah. Oh, okay. Do you want to just come up, if you don't mind, for just a second? Thank you.
It's been very quiet. I don't have anything to report.
Thank you, Mike. Okay. Well, we would like to recognize your unbelievable work on behalf of the V&T Railway Commission. So we have a wonderful plaque here. I'll read it, and then maybe I can turn it around. Presented to Michael S. Rowe, Esquire, in appreciation for over 30 years of legal services to the V&T Railway Commission. So if you can see that on the camera. So, and we're going to do cake, too, after the meeting. So with great gratitude, thank you, Mike. Anybody wants to make a comment, please feel free to jump in. Go ahead, Stephanie.
I just want to echo David's sentiment. We know that your involvement very early on and through the past 30 years has been critical to this commission, and we just, again, thank you very much for your services to the commission.
Thank you, Stephanie. Right? Okay. Thank you again, Mike, for everything. We really appreciate it, so thank you. And eyeball that chocolate cake in the back that Stephanie made via Rayleigh's. Yes. All right. We'll go ahead and move on to 12D, Engineers Report. Ken Dorr. Ken, are you still with us?
Yes, I think so.
Okay. Go ahead,
Yes,
Ken.
David.
We can hear you, yes.
I don't know if you can see me. The dog crawled out of my lap, so I guess I'm good to go. So, apologize for not being there. I'm not ill, but my granddaughter came down with the COVID, so we're in the do not pollute mode there right now. So figured I'd stay home. Just real quick. Took the opportunity to do a train ride there with the last diesel that came down middle of the month, which is nice because you have good view of the track and all in all, everything looks pretty good. Overman looks really good. Gabe has obviously done the surface and lining up there. It's going to continue to settle, of course, but things are looking good. Going forward, I know Gabe can jump in here, but main thing on my little to-do list was keep working away with the ballast regulator when he runs ballast regulator, which is what dresses the ballast on the shoulders and in the track. And then there's a broom attachment that cleans all the rocks, if you will, off the ties. Once you run that, the track looks really good. So he's going to continue with that. As I think I mentioned last meeting, we've got a little bit of work not scheduled, but planned for the Highway 50 bridge. It's a little more cosmetic, but it's pretty minor. A couple items that were picked up by our inspections and as well as NDOT's. Again, based on my trip down the track the other day, everything looks pretty darn good. I don't see any big issues that are coming up at this point, and I knock on wood when I say that. So with that in mind, any questions, I'll try to answer those.
Thank you, Ken, for that update. Any questions for Ken on the engineer's report? All right. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Gabe, again, for your awesome effort on the maintenance side of things. So really appreciate it. All right, we'll move on to 12E. So our next meeting will be in this room, 9 a.m., August 24th. So mark that on your calendars, everyone. We'll go ahead and move on to item 13, commissioner comments or announcements and requests for information. Anybody want to add anything? No? I would like to just acknowledge the Great Western Steam Up. They sold 7,500 tickets. I mentioned this at the city managers meeting yesterday, and 4,500 of those tickets were sold within, I think I said 10 days, but I think it was really 7 days through the event. So 4,500 of those 7,500 tickets. It's the largest ticketed event that we've had here in Carson City. So I think it was quite a cool event. Unfortunately, I wasn't here, but I heard nothing but positive. I think the people were upset they couldn't get a room in Carson City because we were completely sold out. But we're doing some follow-up survey work right now to the people who purchased tickets. We've had, I want to say, about 430 to 450 responses so far. So that's something that is going to come back to my CTA board. But just trying to assess where these people stayed, what else they did outside of going to the event itself. So, and I meant to bring our new commercial spot that we shot that included the VNT. Gosh darn it. So is it possible you could go to our Visit Carson City? I don't know if it's okay if I could just show that spot. Oh, okay. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I know it's on the YouTube, but it really came out quite nicely. So I think my team and the Trespasser people did an incredible job, but everybody loves the train side of things. And we had some guys, I think I mentioned this, who worked on the Top Gun Maverick movie and the Mission Impossible movies. And for one of these fellows, this was his greatest videography, filmography, whatever you call it, day on set was to do this with a live steam engine. So pretty cool, So anyway, if it works, if not, I'll share the link with the commission so you all can. There should just be the new one, but I'm not sure about Instagram. YouTube, it should pop for. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. Maybe you could play that again. Oh yeah, that's our short one. We do have a 30. That's on the YouTube channel. So it's kind of sliced and diced a little bit. But we too, similar to what Allison was saying, we're getting 10s, 5s to make it work for the different mediums. And this ties in with our nostalgia, stays in line with our brand pillars, our brand positioning statement. So anyway, I will share the full video link out to everybody. So, all right. Any other comments? No? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think assuming that the steam up happens again next year, we can start thinking about what we can do to integrate, because I think we have quite a bit to offer there.
I totally agree. This was a unique event because it was the 150th, right? Celebrating Carson City, Virginia City to Reno. I know it was a big lift for the Friends of and the railroad folks, but I'm hoping that they will consider in 3 years or 5 years. I would love to do one of these railroad festivals. So, but I'm with you, and then we'll time it so we can coordinate having the trains running, because a lot of people did want to ride a full train, obviously up to Virginia City. So, but yeah, agreed. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to public comment. Agenda item 14. Any public comment in the room? All right, seeing none, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Take care.